The day begins with a shimmer. The rising sun is already hot enough to lift veils of haze from the sandstone ridges above the river bend, blurring the boundary between ground and sky. Dust hangs in the still air like smoke, stirred by hooves that stamp restlessly against hard earth. Below, the river churns, brown with silt and swollen from recent rains, its surface deceptively calm in places, but swirling into hidden eddies where rocks and roots lie in wait. And above this treacherous water, packed onto the sandstone balcony, the wildebeest gather by the thousands. The sound of them is overwhelming. Calves bleat with thin, urgent voices that carry across the bend, their cries blending with the guttural grunts of their mothers. The rhythm of hoof against rock builds like a drumbeat, uneven and nervous. The mass is not static. It shifts and ripples, individuals pushing forward, then wheeling back, only to press forward again as pressure from behind surges them onward. From a distance, it looks almost like a single organism breathing, inhaling and exhaling, always on the brink of decision, yet never quite committing. This is the migration distilled into one perilous choice. The wildebeest are not guided by a single leader. No elder cow dictates when to leap, no dominant bull commands the descent. Instead, decision emerges from the swarm itself, from a rule as simple as it is profound: copy the neighbor. Each individual reacts not to the herd as a whole, but to the movements of those immediately around it. When one animal edges forward, two others follow. If it retreats, they too back away. But when enough press forward, 5, 6, perhaps 10, the scales tip. Hesitation collapses and momentum becomes irreversible. It is not leadership, but quorum, a collective threshold of commitment that transforms indecision into action. The science of this swarm intelligence has been studied in schools of fish, flocks of birds, even in human crowds at stadium exits. The principle remains consistent. Safety lies in numbers, and numbers depend on synchronization. For wildebeest, this synchrony is sharpened by stakes that are nothing short of life or death. Behind them, the savanna browns under drought, grass clipped to the roots, waterholes shrinking to bacteria-thick mud. Ahead lies fresh grazing, green blades pulled up by the rains. Between them is only this river, its current a gauntlet of uncertainty. Cortisol levels spike as the animals edge and retreat. Hormones surge through their bloodstreams, priming muscles, sharpening reflexes, fueling the body for either flight or catastrophe. You can see it in their behavior, tails lashing, ears swiveling, the sudden nervous bolting of one individual that ricochets panic through the mass. Yet always the herd reforms, drawn again to the edge. Wildebeest are not reckless. They are careful to a fault, rehearsing the approach again and again, testing the ledge until the quorum forms. Finally, it does. At the center of the press, a cow lowers her head, nostrils flaring as she stares into the brown water. She hesitates, hooves shifting on sandstone, then lunges forward. For an instant, she is airborne, legs windmilling against the void before she crashes into the river, spray exploding around her body. The moment she leaps, others surge. 5, 6, then a dozen follow, pulled by the gravitational force of momentum. Panic ignites like fire. The herd, once a restless mass, is now a torrent of bodies. The descent is chaos. Some wildebeest leap clean, hitting deep water where the current sweeps them downstream. Others misjudge, their angles too shallow, and land hard on hidden rocks just beneath the surface. The impact breaks legs, stuns bodies, and turns them into obstacles for those behind. Pile-ups form as the herd continues to pour over the ledge, animals tumbling into one another, hooves striking backs, horns gouging flanks. The river consumes them indiscriminately, yet this chaos has its own ecological logic. Mass drownings are tragedies for individuals, but windfalls for the system. Carcasses caught in eddies or snagged against roots become nutrient deposits that will feed the river for weeks. Fish swarm to pick at soft tissue, catfish devour fragments, and invertebrate blooms surge in response. Even crocodiles, which may kill only a handful of wildebeest directly, benefit as scavengers. Death in bulk seeds life across the food web, fertilizing both river and savanna alike. The migration is not just movement. It is subsidy, a transfer of energy between ecosystems written in blood and bone. For the survivors, the ordeal is far from over. Those in the water kick frantically, hooves flashing white in the brown current. Their bodies are poorly built for swimming, heads too heavy, legs designed for running, not paddling. Yet instinct drives them forward, nostrils flaring above the surface, eyes rolling white with fear. Calves bawl, their cries muted by splashes, their small bodies dragged into turbulence. Some are swept downstream, separated from mothers who thrash alongside them. The herd's strength lies in unity, but the river's strength lies in disassembly, pulling apart what the savannah keeps bound. Scientists have long wondered why wildebeest reuse the same crossing points year after year, even when danger is evident, even when carcasses from previous seasons still line the banks. The answer lies partly in spatial memory. Wildebeest possess strong cognitive maps, retaining knowledge of routes and landmarks across years. Mothers teach calves by leading them along scent trails, pathways inscribed by generations of hooves and glands. Even in the face of catastrophic mortality, tradition holds. They cross where their ancestors crossed, guided not by choice but by memory. On the far bank, survivors claw their way up mud ramps, their hooves slipping, bodies caked in silt. Calves scramble desperately, aided by the nudges of mothers who push from behind. The air is filled with the noise of exertion, of snorts and grunts and splashing hooves. But as the first ranks stagger clear, the river seems to exhale. Bodies bob in eddies, dust mingles with spray, the water stills. For a moment there is silence again, broken only by the sound of dripping mud. Then the surface ripples. A different rhythm, older than the herd itself, begins to stir. Scales, not hooves. A ripple that does not belong to wind or current, but to muscle coiled beneath the surface. Eyes, ancient and unblinking, break the plane of water, watching. The wildebeest may think the worst is behind them, but the river holds predators shaped by millennia to turn panic into opportunity. The crossing is only beginning, and patience older than the migration waits below. Beneath the frenzy of hooves and foam, the river holds its breath. Sound becomes muffled, transformed into a dull thunder that vibrates through the brown water. A curtain of silt hangs suspended, each grain drifting like smoke, stirred by the churn of panicked hooves above. To human eyes, it is almost opaque, a screen of turbulence concealing everything beyond an arm's reach. But for the Nile crocodile, this haze is no obstacle. It is the element it has ruled for millions of years. Only the eyes betray its presence. Just above the surface, twin golden orbs protrude, unblinking, set in sockets armored by ridges of bone. The rest of the body remains invisible, stretched long and still behind a spur of rock where the current eddies. This position is no accident. The crocodile knows the physics of water as intimately as a bird knows the flow of air. By anchoring against the stone, its massive body resists the drag of the current while it waits, energy preserved, every muscle loaded, but dormant. Patience defines the crocodile's strategy. Unlike the lions that must hunt daily or the cheetahs that gamble all on brief sprints, a crocodile can wait weeks, even months between meals. Its metabolism is slow, its energy demands modest, its body a vault designed to hoard calories. This patience is sharpened by precision. The crocodile does not waste energy chasing. It waits for certainty, striking only when success is nearly guaranteed. The signal comes not to the eyes, but to the skin. Along the crocodile's jawline and snout are thousands of small black dots, integumentary sensory organs, or ISOs. These are pressure detectors so sensitive they can register the faintest ripple, the tiny displacement made by a hoof breaking the surface tens of meters away. In the murk, where sight is limited, this network of receptors builds a three-dimensional map of disturbance. The first panicked kicks of wildebeest calves send tremors through the water, and the crocodile feels them instantly. When it strikes, the change is violent. From stillness to detonation, its tail lashes with explosive force, driving the entire body sideways across the current. The acceleration is astonishing for such bulk. A predator that may weigh over half a ton moves with the precision of a spear thrown by the river itself. jaws open wide, hinged by some of the most powerful muscles in the animal kingdom, and clamp down not with slicing teeth, but with blunt, conical pegs designed for grip. These teeth are not knives. They are clamps, engineered to seize and hold against the thrash of prey. Once closed, the bite exerts pressures exceeding 2,000 pounds per square inch, enough to lock bone against bone until fracture. The wildebeest caught in this hold is dragged instantly below the surface. Panic turns into bubbles, legs flailing in vain. The crocodile does not kill by tearing, not immediately. Its method is drowning. With prey clamped in its jaws, the crocodile rotates its body to use weight and leverage against the current. The river itself becomes an accomplice, pressing the struggling animal downward until lungs fill with water. The struggle may last minutes, but inevitability is on the crocodile's side. It has no need to breathe yet. It can remain submerged for half an hour, and in bursts of stillness, much longer. But the kill is only the beginning of the mechanics. Once the wildebeest is limp, the crocodile initiates a maneuver that has made it infamous, the death roll. Muscles along its length fire in sequence, twisting the body into a violent corkscrew. The torque tears flesh from bone, rips limbs free, and orients large carcasses into manageable chunks. The roll is not fury, it is engineering, a rotational force that physics itself refines. This technique allows the crocodile to dismantle prey too large to swallow whole. Not all of the meal is consumed at once. Unlike the hyena that must gorge or the cheetah that must eat quickly before thieves arrive, the crocodile has the luxury of time. It drags the carcass into an eddy, wedging it beneath submerged roots or weighting it under rocks. Here the river becomes a larder. Flesh softens underwater, and the crocodile returns again and again days later to feed. This strategy transforms one moment of explosive success into weeks of sustenance. In the arithmetic of survival, the crocodile invests seconds and earns seasons. The energy economics of this strategy are extraordinary. A single large wildebeest can provide enough calories to fuel a crocodile for months. During the long dry season, when prey thins, the animal can fast, its metabolism slowing even further, drawing on fat reserves stored in its tail and body. It is a living contradiction, a predator of lightning speed for seconds and of glacial patience for months. Evolution has tuned this balance to perfection, allowing the crocodile to survive in a world of feast and famine. Breath, too, is a resource managed with precision. When submerged, the crocodile's heart rate slows dramatically, conserving oxygen. It can remain under for 20 or 30 minutes easily, and in extreme cases, even longer. Yet the price of its ambush is lactic debt. Explosive bursts of muscle power flood its tissues with lactic acid, leaving the crocodile sluggish for hours afterward. This is why it does not strike recklessly. Each attack is costly, and recovery is long. But when it succeeds, the payoff is immense. From above, the crossing continues. More wildebeest leap into the water, hooves splashing, bodies colliding. Some make it to the far bank, scrambling up the mud ramp with sides heaving. Others falter, their bodies piling against hidden rocks. Each mistake feeds the river, and each ripple signals opportunity. The crocodiles do not all strike at once. They are spaced along the bend, each anchoring to rock or log, each waiting for the precise moment when success is near certain. The river becomes a gauntlet, and the herd pays its toll in blood. Yet there is no malice here, only method. The crocodile does not hunt from cruelty or spite. It is an engine of ancient patience, perfected long before the first wildebeest ever ran. Fossils tell us that crocodiles like these swam when dinosaurs walked, their bodies scarcely altered in shape or function. Evolution found a blueprint that worked and has scarcely needed to revise it. Every scale, every muscle, every tooth speaks of deep time, of an animal that has watched entire ages rise and fall and survived them all. At the bend, one carcass drifts into an eddy, nudged by the current until it lodges against a root. A crocodile circles it slowly, nudging it deeper into the pocket of still water. This is his larder now, his investment in the days ahead. Other predators will feed quickly and move on, but he will remain, returning again and again, feeding slowly, methodically, until nothing is left but bone. The camera rises through the silt, breaking the surface where the moonlight glints off scales. For a moment, the water seems empty again, as if the violence never happened. But the river is changed. Beneath its calm face lie caches of meat, stashed by jaws that rule without sound. And just beyond the eddy, the water is disturbed again. Not by hooves this time, but by something even larger. A grey wall of bulk shifts, and with it, the entire mood of the bend. These are not hunters in waiting, but sentinels of territory. The crocodile's patience yields to another authority. The hippos are here. The sun is at its zenith, a white disk that bleaches color from the land and turns every surface into a mirror of heat. Shadows vanish into narrow slivers beneath acacia trees, and the savanna air quivers with a shimmer that blurs distance into mirage. The river, so alive at dawn with the frenzy of wildebeest hooves and crocodilian ambushes, now lies under a heavy noon glare. The water is a broad sheet of molten brown, its surface rippling with heat haze and scattering with occasional bursts of spray, where fish gasp against the temperature's climb, and then the hippos surface. The first sign is a plume of mist, expelled with the force of a bellows, followed by the dome of a backslick with algae. One, then another, then a cluster of grey hulks break the waterline. Their sheer size is startling, adults averaging 1.5 tons, some bulls well over 2, their forms half submerged, yet imposing as boulders that breathe. They are gathered in ranks, their heads bobbing, nostrils flaring, ears twitching independently like tiny radar dishes. This is not random clustering. It is a garrison, a territorial presence carved into the river's lanes. The dominant bull is unmistakable. He rises higher than the others, scarred across the flanks with the pale lines of old tusk strikes, his skin creased and folded like leather worked too many times. He occupies the sandbar in mid-channel, a patch of ground that for wildebeest would be a refuge, but for him is a throne. His presence turns the sandbar into a line in the water that no hoof may cross. To many observers, hippos are misunderstood as predators. Their enormous mouths, lined with tusks capable of crushing bone, create the illusion of carnivory. Yet the truth is subtler and stranger. Hippos are grazers, their stomachs adapted not for meat, but for grasses consumed in night-long marathons across floodplains. But in the water, they are guardians, not hunters. What they defend is not food, but space, territorial corridors that act as nurseries for calves and channels that shape the very architecture of the river. The language of hippo dominance is visual, auditory, and olfactory, layered with signals that leave no ambiguity. The most dramatic is the yawn, a gesture where the bull throws his head back and gapes his mouth to an angle of 150 degrees, exposing tusks yellowed with use and incisors sharp as chisels. It is not fatigue, but proclamation. This space is mine and entry will cost blood. Another ritual is tail splashing, where dung is sprayed in wide arcs while the tail whirs like a fan, flinging fecal particles across the current. To humans it appears crude, but to hippos it is broadcast media, each particle a carrier of scent that lingers, announcing ownership long after the bull has submerged. Even a casual flick of the head carries weight. When the bull jerks water sideways with a twitch of his massive neck, it is a signal that patience is waning. Today, wildebeest press into these guarded lanes, their desperation overriding caution. Some attempt to scramble onto the sandbar, their hooves scrabbling at wet mud as they try to escape the chaos of the channel. The response is immediate. The bull erupts from the shallows in a charge that belies his bulk. His speed through water is startling, driven by legs thick as pillars and a body buoyed by natural density control. Within seconds he is upon the trespassers, his mouth gaping, his tusks thrust like twin ivory spears. The wildebeest scatter, bleating in terror, hooves slipping as they plunge back into deeper water. For them, the bull is indistinguishable from a predator, though his intent is territorial, not predatory. In this way, hippos shape the very flow of the migration, forcing herds into tighter channels where crocodiles lurk, concentrating risk into predictable gauntlets. Yet hippos are not solely engines of hostility. Observers have documented rare moments of surprising nuance. Cows, protective of their own calves, sometimes intervene when young wildebeest are stranded. A hippo cow may nudge a struggling foal toward shallower ground, guiding it out of danger rather than destroying it. These acts, though exceptions, reveal the complexity of hippo behavior, oscillating between intolerance and accidental guardianship. In contrast, bulls show little mercy. Anything that enters their corridor from wildebeest to canoe is rammed with the same certainty. Hippos are not just actors in the river's drama, they are engineers. Their territorial patrols carve channels, their repeated movements plow furrows into mudbanks, and their bulk maintains passages through which water continues to flow, even as drought contracts the river's body. By churning sediments, they redistribute nutrients, creating patches rich in organic matter that fuel fish populations and aquatic vegetation. At night, when they leave the water to graze, they become links between ecosystems, transporting nitrogen and phosphorus from floodplain grasses back into the river via their dung. In this way, the hippo is less a grazer than a nutrient pump, connecting land and water with each step. The noon glare forces most species into torpor, but the hippos thrive in this element. Their bodies, vulnerable to overheating under direct sun, rely on immersion as thermoregulation. Their thick skin, nearly 2 inches in places, is prone to desiccation if left dry. To counter this, they secrete a viscous reddish fluid, often called blood sweat, though it is neither blood nor sweat. This secretion functions as both sunscreen and antibiotic, protecting against infection in a world where tusk gouges and abrasions are common. The river is sanctuary not only from predators, but from the sun itself, wrapping their skin in a bath that preserves life in the harshest hours. As the day progresses, the dominant bull continues his patrol. His grunts roll across the water, deep resonant calls that are felt as much as heard, vibrating through the surface like the low notes of a drum. Each grunt reinforces the message. This section is claimed, its boundaries non-negotiable. Younger males linger at the edges, careful not to cross into his path, their deference written in their posture. Females cluster closer to the calves, the waterline dotted with pairs of tiny ears and eyes, miniature replicas of their parents learning already the choreography of territory. For the wildebeest, the hippos are an obstacle as much as the crocodiles. The sandbar, which might have offered a brief refuge, is transformed into a trap where death can come by tusk instead of tooth. Yet their pressure cannot abate. The herd must cross, and so they are funneled into the lanes left open, lanes the crocodiles know too well. Thus the hippos, without intending, become architects of carnage, their territorial instincts aligning with the crocodiles' ambush strategies. The migration's blood toll is not only a matter of predator and prey, but of how species carve space into opportunity and denial. By mid-afternoon, the air thickens with humidity, clouds massing at the horizon. The bull yawns again, his mouth framed in a crescent of ivory, before sinking back into the shallows with barely a ripple. Around him, the river resumes its uneasy balance. Wildebeest continue to leap, crocodiles continue to wait, but the sandbar remains inviolate, its borders drawn not by teeth hidden in water, but by tusks borne openly above it. As evening cools the savannah, the mood shifts. The sun bleeds into amber, softening the harsh glare into honeyed light. The hippos grunt softly as they prepare for their nightly exodus. Soon they will leave the water to graze under cover of darkness, traveling miles into the plains to crop grasses, before returning to their aquatic sanctuaries by dawn. Their dual existence, herbivores on land, sentinels in water, bridges 2 worlds, making them one of the most paradoxical giants of Africa. The river quiets under the cooling air, the water smoothing into polished bronze. From the bank, amber eyes ignite in the growing shadows, glinting with hunger and organization. The hippos retreat deeper into their sanctuaries, and a new order prepares to rise. Lions are stirring. The riverbank is chaos incarnate. Golden hour light pours across the bend, gilding dust and water into molten hues. The sun, low on the horizon, turns every spray of mud into amber mist. Herds of wildebeest press into the bank in waves, their bodies slick from the crossing, their eyes wide and rolling white with fear. The current has battered them. Crocodiles have claimed their toll, and yet the worst danger still lies ahead. To leave the river, they must climb. The ramps are scars carved into the earth, churned into steep, slippery gullies by generations of hooves. The mud here is black and treacherous, greased by the bodies of those that failed before. Each animal that tries to scramble upward dislodges more soil, widening the grooves, deepening the ruts. Wildebeest scramble, legs splayed, hooves clawing for purchase. Some succeed, pulling themselves onto the lip of the bank, collapsing for a moment before bolting toward the safety of grassland. Others stall in the press, trapped by the weight of bodies behind them, falling to their knees as the panic wave surges. These bottlenecks are predictable, and the predators know it. In the tall grass above the ramp, a pride of lions waits. They do not waste energy chasing wildebeest into the river's current. That game belongs to crocodiles. Instead, they specialize in the ground advantage, timing their attacks for the exact moment when prey is weakest. The pride has learned this geometry well, refining it into a routine as reliable as the migration itself. One lioness anchors the ambush downwind, her body pressed low, ears flattened, every muscle tuned to silence. She is the matriarch, experienced and deliberate, her nose sampling the gusts that funnel up from the river. Another lioness drifts to the higher ground, her position not in front, but at the angle where panic is most likely to fracture. She will be the one to cut escape, her strike aimed at those who falter mid-scramble. A young male, mane not yet full, positions himself where the panic seam runs, where exhaustion tips into collapse. He is learning by observation as much as by instinct, studying how the herd flows, where the opportunities arise. The herd surges again, a tide of black bodies pressing against the ramp. The first wave scrambles up, hooves clattering, tails whipping. Dust erupts into clouds, choking the air, reducing visibility to a blur of shapes. Among the surge, a yearling wildebeest falters. Its legs skid on the slick mud, its chest slams against the incline, and the momentum of those behind crushes it further into the rut. The moment is as brief as a stumble, but for the lions it is signal enough. The matriarch moves first, a flash of muscle against the fading light. She bursts from the grass, paws pounding silently against earth until the final leap, where claws meet flesh. Her jaws clamp high on the wildebeest's neck, the hold precise, designed not to kill instantly but to immobilize. The younger lioness follows, seizing a flank, while the subadult male charges in with clumsy eagerness, his paws skidding as he tries to pin the thrashing animal. The pride swarms, pulling the yearling clear of the ramp before the press of the herd can reclaim it. Dust, blood, and panic swirl into one as the wildebeest's cries dissolve into silence. The pride does not linger on the kill. They drag the carcass swiftly into cover, deep into a tangle of shrubs that shield them from view. Here, urgency rules. They know that hyenas patrol by nightfall, their whoops already echoing faintly across the plain. A carcass left in the open would invite a battle the pride cannot afford. Lions may be dominant, but hyena clans with sufficient numbers can wear down even determined defenders. To secure their meal, the lions conceal it, caching the body where only they can guard it effectively. As darkness falls, the rhythm of the pride shifts. Bellies swell with meat, jaws glisten, and cubs emerge from hiding to join the feast. Feeding is not frenzy, but structure. The matriarch eats first, followed by senior lionesses, then younger members and cubs. Yet hierarchy does not erase competition. Growls rumble low in throats, tails lash, and claws rake earth as siblings jostle for access. The cubs, still too small to feed on their own, learn through controlled participation, mimicking bites, tugging ineffectively at sinew, and observing the mechanics of killing and consuming. This is training by proximity, the gradual initiation into the culture of predation. The pride feeds deep into the night, but not to excess. Energy budgeting in these bonanza events is critical. During the migration, opportunities are plentiful compared to the lean, dry months, but hunting still costs dearly. Each chase burns water and muscle. Each failed attempt drains reserves. By specializing at the exits, the pride maximizes efficiency. They expend little energy, yet reap high returns. It is a strategy tuned not to spectacle, but to sustainability. The carcass dwindles as hours pass, flesh stripped, ribs bared, marrow cracked by powerful jaws. By the time the moon hangs high, what remains is dragged deeper into cover, cached beneath brush to avoid detection. Lions are not true hoarders like leopards, but they will conceal leftovers when the risk of theft outweighs the effort. With bellies full, the pride disperses slightly, some collapsing into sleep, others keeping watch. Hyenas whoop closer now, their calls triangulating across the plain. The lions listen, ears twitching, but remain still. For tonight, they have eaten enough. Before dawn, they return to the ramp. The migration continues, as relentless as the river itself. New herds press forward, new hooves churn the mud, new victims falter in the crush. The pride positions itself once again, geometry restored. One lioness anchoring the wind, another drifting to higher ground, the young male waiting at the seam. The pattern repeats as it has for years. The river may be the great killer, but the lions are its inheritors, capitalizing on weakness at the threshold of escape. This specialization illustrates the broader trade-offs predators face. Crocodiles risk drowning prey too large to manage or exhausting themselves in failed strikes. Lions risk little in waiting at the exits, but their returns are smaller and more frequent. In ecological terms, both strategies coexist, partitioning the landscape of opportunity into aquatic and terrestrial domains. The wildebeest face death from multiple angles, each predator exploiting different vulnerabilities in their journey. As the sun's first light spills across the plain, painting the mud ramp in shades of copper, the pride remains poised. Their eyes glow in the half-light, their bodies perfectly still, their patience unbroken. The river offers no respite for the herds. Every step from entry to exit is lined with danger. For the lions, the bank is not a barrier but a funnel, channeling prey into predictable geometry, collapsing chance into inevitability. Then, across the plain, a new sound rises. A single note, haunting, prolonged, almost like a siren, echoes through the darkness. It is answered from far off, then nearer, then everywhere, a chorus of calls layering over one another. The lions lift their heads, ears pricking, eyes narrowing. The night is about to change hands. The hyenas are coming. Nightfall descends, and with it the river crossing changes character. The last light bleeds from the horizon, leaving the bend cloaked in a shifting palette of deep indigo and silver. Moonlight drapes the water, shimmering against the churned mud and the carcasses already strewn along the banks. The air is cooler, but heavy with the smell of blood, damp hide and rot. It is a scent that does not dissipate quickly. It lingers, settling into every patch of grass, carried by currents, announcing opportunity. To the scavenger guild, it is a beacon. The lions have fed. Their bellies are swollen, their muzzles crusted dark. Now they rest in the thickets, half-sated and reluctant to burn energy defending what remains. The river, however, is far from silent.
It becomes a graveyard alive with flickers, pairs of amber eyes glinting like embers scattered across the night. The hyenas have arrived.
They do not come singly, but in commuting waves, drawn by sound and smell from kilometers away. The whoop is their rallying cry, a long, undulating note that rises like a siren, followed by answers from multiple directions. Alone, a hyena is competent but vulnerable. Together, their power compounds. By triangulating calls, they converge on the most productive banks, assembling with purpose. To human ears, the laughter and whoops sound chaotic, unnerving. But within the clan, these calls are syntax, carrying meaning about distance, direction, even urgency. It is social coordination turned into acoustics, and it works flawlessly in the dark. Tonight, they gather in force. A clan of over 30 members flows across the bank, bodies mottled in pale and dark spots, their sloping backs casting odd shadows in the moonlight. The matriarch leads, as always, her bulk larger than the males that flank her. In hyena society, power flows through the females. Elevated androgen levels grant them not only physical strength, but also the aggression to dominate. The hierarchy is enforced constantly, through nips, through posturing, through access to food. A male's success depends entirely on deference. Females control both politics and calories. They do not scavenge immediately. First, they test. A calf, separated from its mother in the chaos of the crossing, staggers weakly near the water's edge. The hyenas close in with deliberation, circling, their gaits casual, as though unhurried by hunger. One darts forward, snapping at the calf's flank, then retreats. Another feints from the opposite side. It is not a single decisive strike, but a series of probes, each draining the calf's reserves. Hyenas excel not at speed, but at persistence. Endurance hunters, they rely on wearing prey down, chasing and harassing until collapse. The calf stumbles, legs trembling, and within moments the clan closes, numbers overwhelming resistance. Their jaws, built for crushing rather than slicing, grip and tear until the animal is subdued. The kill is messy, brutal, yet efficient. It is the economics of exhaustion executed in silence, save for the chorus of cackles and grunts. The kill of the calf is a supplement, but the real economy lies in what others have left behind. The lion's cache is abandoned for now, only ribs and haunches visible above the brush. The crocodile's stashed bodies drift in eddies, but those remain inaccessible until the water yields them. The immediate wealth is on the bank itself. Wildebeest carcasses abandoned in pile-ups, drowned and washed ashore. To the hyenas, these are ledgers waiting to be balanced. They set to work with astonishing efficiency. One clamps onto a rib cage, its premolars crunching through bone with a sound like snapping branches. Another gnaws through a pelvis, splintering it into shards. Unlike cats, which use carnassials to shear flesh, hyenas are equipped with teeth that act as hammers, designed to crack. Their bite force, proportional to body size, is among the strongest of all mammals. Even femurs, dense with marrow, shatter under their pressure. The soundscape of the bank becomes a rhythm of breaking bones, of grinding molars, punctuated by guttural whoops of satisfaction. This ability to consume bone is not merely about hunger, it is about efficiency at the ecosystem scale. Hyenas strip carcasses to the molecular level. What lions leave and vultures cannot penetrate, hyenas convert. Calcium and phosphorus from bone are metabolized, eventually passed on through milk to cubs hidden in dens dug deep into termite mounds. At those dens, the benefits multiply. Cub survival rates spike during the migration season, when carrion pulses provide consistent resources. What to the wildebeest is death in the hundreds becomes for the hyena a reproductive boon shaping their population cycles. Their resistance to pathogens further secures their role. Hyenas consume carcasses that have begun to rot, meals that would kill many other animals through infection. Their stomach acid is highly corrosive, with a pH near 1, capable of neutralizing anthrax spores, botulism toxins, and a suite of bacteria lethal to others. In this way, they act as sanitizers of the savanna, scrubbing disease from the landscape by metabolizing it. The grotesque image of them feeding becomes, at a biological level, an act of hygiene. The clan tonight is coordinated not only in sound but in hierarchy. Cubs, still young, remain hidden in distant dens, but adolescents accompany the group, darting in at the margins of the feast. They are permitted to feed, though only after the matriarch and senior females. Their lessons mirror those of lion cubs, but with a different emphasis. They learn how to negotiate aggression, how to dart and seize scraps without overstepping, how to retreat when reprimanded. Every meal doubles as education. The politics of access shape the politics of survival. As the night deepens, the bank begins to resemble a ledger balanced to zero. Carcasses once bloated and whole are reduced to fragments, ribs shattered, hides shredded, marrow drained. Even hooves are chewed, the keratin worn down into digestible pieces. Where other scavengers leave remnants, hyenas leave nothing but a faint dark patch on the soil and a sour tang on the wind. This completeness makes them vital to the migration's ecology. Without their efficiency, bones would litter the banks, harboring pathogens, hindering future crossings. With them, energy is recycled quickly, returning nutrients to the web. Yet the hyena's dominance is not absolute. As the moon arcs higher, their calls echo across the bend, their laughter carrying far. But one shape avoids the chorus, gliding silently along the tree line. It does not whoop, it does not call, it does not need numbers. The leopard, solitary and precise, begins its approach. Hyenas may own the night economy in bulk, but the margins belong to shadows that refuse to announce themselves. The balance at the river shifts again. The clan continues to crunch bones, their chorus filling the dark. But another predator is now watching, calculating a different opportunity. The night air is dense with the residue of chaos. Bone cracks echo faintly from the hyena clan still feeding at the main bend, but beyond their chorus lies another rhythm, quieter, sharper, deliberate. Along the backwater, where the current slackens into a half-forgotten eddy, the world seems hushed. It is here, at the margins of the crossing, where survival is not a matter of numbers, but of silence. And it is here that the leopard waits. He is not drawn to the thundering mass of wildebeest plunging en masse, nor to the carcass caches stashed by crocodiles. His niche lies elsewhere in the overlooked spaces between spectacle and aftermath. Tonight, that space is a fallen fever tree, its trunk slanting diagonally across the riverbank, bridging water and earth. Time and floods have lodged it firmly, its surface mottled with lichen, bark slick from humidity. For the leopard, it is both stage and pathway, an elevated bridge across which chaos must pass. The male crouches low, his rosette-spotted coat blurring with the dappled moonlight filtering through leaves. His body is compact but coiled, shoulders rippling as if each muscle is a thread in tension. Eyes gleam pale green in the dark, reflecting light twice through the tapetum lucidum, a mirror at the back of his retina that doubles his efficiency in low light. To him, the dim world is not shadow but clarity, every ripple on the water's surface, every shift of grass blade, a signal. The backwater attracts stragglers. Calves, exhausted by the crossing, drift into the eddy where the current slackens. They press close to the bank, bawling weakly, hooves slipping on mud as they attempt to haul themselves up the narrow footpaths carved by earlier crossings. Mothers may already be gone, swept downstream or forced forward with the herd, leaving the vulnerable alone. These are the moments the leopard calibrates for, not spectacle, but precision. Patience defines him. While lions expend effort on ambushes requiring coordination and hyenas arrive in force to overwhelm, the leopard waits until the odds condense into inevitability. He needs only one strike, and he knows exactly how to spend it. His hunting economics are solitary by necessity. Without a pride to share energy or a clan to divide labor, he must calculate risk with ruthless accuracy. Injury is disaster, failure wastes irreplaceable calories. His strategy is one ambush, one kill, and a guarantee of ownership. When a calf edges into view, scrambling up the footpath with legs trembling from exhaustion, the leopard does not rush. He watches the rhythm of its movements, the pauses where it slips, the moment when its head lowers in fatigue. Then, in a burst, he is no longer shadow but force. His body launches from the log, paws silent against wood, claws unsheathed in mid-leap. The impact is sudden and absolute. His forelimbs wrap the calf in a vice-like embrace, dew claws hooking deep into hide as his jaws clamp high on the throat. The calf struggles weakly, legs kicking mud, but the leopard's grip is surgical. Within seconds, the body slackens. What follows is just as critical as the kill itself. Hyenas patrol nearby, their noses sharp to the scent of blood, their ears tuned to the smallest cries. If the leopard fed here, he would lose everything within minutes. Instead, he engages his second most important survival tactic, the dragon cache. With jaws locked onto the calf's neck, he begins to haul. The weight is awkward, nearly equal to his own, but his body is built for this exact labor. Forelimbs rotate inward with unusual freedom for a cat, claws digging into soil for leverage. His spine, flexible and elastic, allows him to twist, lift, and correct as he ascends. Inch by inch, he drags the carcass up the fever tree's trunk, muscles rippling with exertion, his breath loud and guttural. Gravity becomes enemy and ally, pressing the calf into him as he climbs, but threatening to tear it free at any misstep. Yet the leopard persists, his balance aided by the counterweight of his long tail swinging in slow arcs. At last, he reaches the crook of a branch, a fork sturdy enough to hold the load. He wedges the calf firmly into place, adjusting until the body is secure, legs dangling in suspension. There it hangs, lantern-like, swaying gently above the ground, out of reach from scavengers. Hyenas may circle below, crocodiles may drift in the eddy, but the carcass now belongs solely to him. The tree has become fortress, larder, and dining hall in one. The leopard feeds slowly, methodically. His carnassials shear through hide and muscle, his tongue rasps the flesh from bone. He does not gorge, he conserves, pacing himself to prolong the meal over days if possible. In this strategy, he differs sharply from lions, whose feeding frenzies are about competition, or hyenas, who consume quickly to avoid loss. The leopard eats with the confidence of ownership. What he cannot finish tonight will be here tomorrow, protected by gravity and his vigilance. Ownership, however, must be reinforced. Before he rests, he sprays the branches, tail arched high as he mists the wood with urine. To a rival leopard, to a passing hyena, even to a lion that might wander through, the scent is declaration. This kill is claimed, this territory occupied. Scent posting is his management of kleptoparasites, a chemical barrier as vital as tooth or claw. It is ephemeral, fading with rain or wind, but renewed each time he returns, a rhythm as constant as the migration itself. As dawn nears, the leopard withdraws from his elevated perch. The kill remains suspended, safe from thieves, while he slips silently back to the ground. He moves toward the river, not to hunt again, but to drink. He knows where to do so, at the shallow tangles of roots where crocodiles cannot surge. The water barely covers his shins as he lowers his head, lapping cautiously, eyes never leaving the reeds. Even here, caution governs every act. For a solitary predator, no moment is without calculation. When the sun finally breaks the horizon, striking the fever tree in light that paints its trunk gold, the leopard is already gone. He has melted into the shade of thickets, his presence erased but his claim secured. The hyenas continue their bone-crunching chorus, the lions stir from their caches, and the river resumes its brutal commerce. Yet above the bank, suspended in the crook of branches, hangs the calf, silent testament to the leopard's strategy, precision over spectacle, patience over chaos, certainty over gamble. The camera pans upward, catching the first light hitting the dangling body like a lantern over the river, before shifting toward the far bank. There, in the heat shimmer of rising morning, a new mass gathers. Black and white stripes cluster at the ledge, their ears swiveling, their foals pressed tight inside protective circles. The next test of daylight will not come from wildebeest. It will come from the zebras. The sun climbs into its punishing arc, bleaching the sky to white and scouring every shadow from the plain. Thermals rise from the baked earth in wavering columns, distorting the horizon until herds blur like liquid mirages. At the lip of the riverbank, bands of zebra gather, their black and white flanks shimmering in the heat. The soundscape is restless, hooves scuffing stone, foals braying with high, desperate notes, adults snorting in syncopated bursts. Dust, fine as powder, drifts through the air, clinging to their coats before being shaken free in glittering veils. Unlike the wildebeest, who surge as collective avalanches, zebras advance with more deliberation. The herd forms concentric circles, adults on the outer rim, foals pressed tightly within, their striped bodies merging into a living barricade. Stallions patrol the margins, their heads lifted, ears pivoting, tails flicking rhythmically against the constant irritation of flies. Here, order exists amid the tension, hierarchy and decision woven into the structure of the herd. At the fore stand the mares, the experienced females who hold the memory of crossings past. Zebras do not rely solely on quorum or mass panic. They rely on leadership, These mares approach the lip of the bank with practiced caution, sniffing the churned soil, ears pricked forward as they gaze at the current. They remember where last year's ramp held firm, where mud collapsed, where crocodiles surged from hidden shelves. This memory is spatial and social, encoded in their movements and passed through demonstration to the herd. When one mare paws the ground, testing the slope, the others respond, watching for her signal. She edges forward, then withdraws, repeats, and finally stamps her hoof, an action that ripples tension through the group. Slowly, commitment takes shape. When they leap not as individuals but as a split torrent. Zebras are path makers of the migration, often the first to create crossings that wildebeest will later follow. Their hooves gouge tracks into the bank, carving ramps that last for days, scars in the earth reused by other species. This interspecies facilitation is one of the migration's overlooked mechanics. What the zebra begins, the wildebeest amplifies. In carving first paths, they act not only for their own survival, but inadvertently for the multitude that follows. The plunge is orchestrated chaos. Stallions take the rear guard, their bodies angled outward as they enter the water, ready to strike at threats. When crocodiles surge forward, jaws gaping, stallions pivot, lashing out with hooves that strike with bone-cracking force. A single kick can fracture a predator's jaw, and crocodiles, despite their patience, often recoil from the impact. The adults in the center form a maelstrom, their bodies pressed close, churning the water into froth. For predators below, this tumult is confusion, stripes slicing in all directions, difficult to isolate into single targets. Science suggests these stripes may hold more purpose than camouflage. While once thought to dazzle lions or crocodiles, evidence leans toward a different utility: insect deterrence. Tsetse flies and biting horseflies, common along rivers, are less likely to land on striped surfaces, their visual systems confused by the contrast. But at close range, underwater, there may indeed be a dazzle effect. Predators struggle to track individuals when the herd thrashes together, the oscillation of black and white lines creating a moving puzzle. Survival here may hinge on confusion as much as strength. Among the plunging herd, a foal stumbles. The current seizes its small body, sweeping it downstream, spinning it sideways into an eddy. Its cries pierce the roar of water and hooves, sharp with panic. But even as it is carried off, its mother follows, launching into the river beside it. She swims parallel, her head lifted high, eyes locked on her calf. Zebras are not natural swimmers, their heavy heads and long bodies poorly adapted to current. Yet maternal drive turns inadequacy into endurance. The mare adjusts her angle constantly, using her body as a buffer, nudging the foal toward a shallow riffle downstream. The struggle is long, each stroke a gamble against fatigue, but the riffle nears, a rocky rise where the current weakens. The foal scrambles onto stone, slipping, legs splaying, but the mother presses against it, guiding with her flank until both collapse onto the shallows. For a moment they stand trembling, sides heaving, nostrils flaring with the sharp tang of adrenaline. Above them, a lion watches. Perched at the bank's edge, the lioness has seen the foal's weakness, has tracked the mother's struggle. Her eyes narrow, her muscles tense, yet the water between them holds her at bay. Heat shimmers around her body, the air vibrating with mirage, but she does not leap. Lions know their limitations. Water is not their hunting ground, and crocodiles rule its depths. She waits, hesitates, then withdraws. The foal and mother stumble free, alive for now. The herd continues its crossing. The ramp carved by mares becomes a channel of survival, each hoof deepening the groove, each body smoothing the mud into a usable slope. Wildebeest will soon follow, drawn not by memory but by mimicry, their copy-the-neighbor rule guiding them onto paths zebras first split. Without zebras, many crossings would remain chaotic, deaths higher, paths fewer. They are not only survivors but facilitators, engineers of routes through peril. By midday, the heat is suffocating. Thermals spiral upward, carrying vultures into their slow, circling ascents. The zebra herd regroups on the far bank, foals press tightly against their mothers, stallions pacing restlessly around the edges. Their bodies, streaked with mud and glistening with sweat, seem more striped than ever under the glare of the sun. For them, survival is measured not in the kill avoided, but in the path carved, an act that will ripple through the ecosystem as others follow their lead. Hoof thunder fades into the distance, a memory carried in dust. The river quiets, but the sky does not. The thermals strengthen, twisting higher, lifting wings into effortless spirals. Above the bend, the cleanup crew begins to gather. What zebras left behind, another guild will inherit. The vultures are coming. The river has quieted. What was frenzy in morning and midday has settled into the heavy silence of heat. Carcasses lie bloated at the bends, wedged against roots or caught in shallows where the current slackens. Their hides stretch taut in the sun, gases building beneath skin, every swell releasing the sour tang of decay. Around them, the predators of tooth and claw have taken their share. Crocodiles lurk beside submerged caches. Lions sleep in the shade with bellies swollen. Hyenas retreat to dens where cubs wait to be fed. The bank for the moment is unclaimed. But above, another guild has been watching, waiting for the right wind to deliver them. Invisible to the herds below, the sky itself is alive with movement. The afternoon sun strikes the plain unevenly, warming rocks and soil until columns of hot air twist upward. These thermals, shimmering like glass, rise in spirals that can carry a bird from the dust of the earth to the rarefied chill of the upper troposphere. It is here that silver wings appear, wide, deliberate, angled against the sky. Ruppel's vultures, the highest flying birds ever recorded, enter the scene not with the violence of a lion's charge or a crocodile's ambush, but with the grace of physics harnessed. From kilometers away, they have spotted the carnage. A vulture's eyesight rivals the finest optics, capable of resolving detail across immense distances. They do not seek movement, but the stillness of death. The dark smudges of carcasses on pale sand, the gatherings of other scavengers, even the glint of bone under sun. Once sighted, the vultures surf thermals toward the river bend, their wings locked, bodies hardly flapping. The cost of this flight is negligible. By riding the invisible elevators of heat, they conserve energy in a way no mammal predator can. For them, the migration is not merely an opportunity. It is the jackpot that allows survival with minimal exertion. The first to arrive circle high, cautious, their silhouettes pinwheeling against the pale blue. Then the spiral tightens. More birds join, riding the same column, forming a funnel of wings that descends slowly, inexorably, until the air is filled with the whisper of feathers slicing wind. The descent is methodical, patient, for vultures are not reckless in their approach. They know dominance will be contested the moment they land. Timing their entry matters. On the ground, the pecking order reveals itself in seconds. The heavyweights, lappet-faced and white-backed vultures, claim the prime positions first. Their bills are stronger, hooked like hatchets, capable of ripping through hide too tough for finer tools. They open the carcasses, tearing gashes into bellies, peeling back the armor of skin so the real work can begin. Ruppel's vultures, slimmer and built for precision, bide their time. Their heads and necks are narrow, featherless, designed to slide deep into cavities that others cannot reach. When the opportunity presents itself, they press forward, slipping past the heavier birds to probe into seams and chambers, extracting what others leave behind. It is not dominance they rely upon, but specialism. The frenzy builds. Dozens of vultures swarm a single wildebeest carcass, wings outstretched, bodies jostling, their guttural hisses and croaks rising into a chorus. They stab and tear, beaks dripping with blood, eyes fierce with hunger. Each bird's crop, the expandable pouch in its throat, swells visibly as it fills. In the peak of frenzy, the carcass seems to dissolve beneath them, its volume shrinking minute by minute until little remains but bones and a sheen of fluids darkening the earth. Where hyenas break bones and lions leave hides, vultures accelerate the reduction, ensuring almost nothing lingers long enough to harbor disease. This sanitation service is one of the most underappreciated roles in the ecosystem. By consuming carrion quickly, vultures prevent anthrax spores from festering in ungulate remains, inhibit the spread of botulism, and strip clean carcasses that could otherwise support pathogen blooms. Their stomach acid, with a pH near 1, is among the most corrosive of any vertebrate, capable of neutralizing bacteria and viruses that would kill other animals outright. What looks grotesque, necks buried in entrails, crops bulging with decay, is in fact biological disinfection, a purging of disease before it can spill back into the herds. The sky funeral is not ceremony but hygiene, delivered with ruthless efficiency. The energy economics of their strategy are equally elegant. Flapping flight is costly, demanding high metabolic rates to keep heavy bodies aloft. But soaring is almost free. By exploiting thermals, vultures can travel dozens of kilometers while burning only minimal reserves. This efficiency means they can search vast areas for carrion without exhausting themselves. When a migration pulses through, providing carrion in bulk, the vultures are poised to exploit it at scale. Crops fill in minutes, meals that can last for days. Once gorged, the birds launch again into the air, heavy at first but soon buoyed by rising heat, their bellies dragging nutrients from death into flight. Above all, Ruppel's vultures are creatures of extremes. They hold the record for the highest confirmed flight of any bird, colliding once with an aircraft at over 37,000 feet. At such altitudes, where oxygen is scarce, their blood chemistry reveals adaptation. Their hemoglobin binds oxygen with unusual affinity, allowing them to function in air so thin it would incapacitate most vertebrates. It is an adaptation that speaks to their reliance on vast vistas, seeing from above not just one carcass, but the patterns of mortality across entire plains. The feeding frenzy, as sudden as it is violent, burns itself out quickly. Within less than half an hour, the carcass is stripped, the soil smeared with dark stains, bones scattered bare. The noise subsides. Crops full, the birds pause, their heads drooping slightly, their movements slower, almost lethargic. Some shuffle into the shade of thorn bushes to rest. Others, satisfied, spread wings to catch the sun, drying feathers matted with gore. Then one lifts. With a few powerful strokes, it rises just enough to catch a thermal. The wings lock, the body steadies, and in seconds it is climbing, spiraling upward on invisible elevators of air. From below, it seems effortless, a body buoyed by nothing, rising higher and higher until it is only a dot etched against the sky. Others follow one by one, peeling from the ground and returning to the domain they rule best. Their circles widen, overlapping, weaving new spirals that climb toward the sun. As dusk approaches, the sky softens into gold and violet. The last vultures drift away, their silhouettes stretching into distance, leaving the riverbank stripped clean. Below, the cycle resumes its eternal rhythm. Crocodiles guard their submerged caches, eyes level with the waterline. Lions stir, watching the ramps for the next stumble. Hyenas ghost the edges of the plain, their laughter drifting through the dark. Leopards vanish back into thickets, their kills hanging lantern-like in the trees. Zebras and wildebeest regroup, their herds restless, sensing that tomorrow they must cross again. And above them all, the vultures remain, writing slow circles overhead, custodians of the aftermath, sentinels of decay, the final arbiters of the river's economy. In their spirals, the story of the crossing is completed. Life feeds death, death feeds life, and the river resets, waiting for the next decision to jump.